Good evening, everyone. It is currently 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, and it's one of the Saturdays that I don't work, surprisingly. At my workplace, we're open on Saturdays, and my supervisor has been scheduling me a lot since there's a dollar differential on the weekends, so bless her heart for doing that for me. But it's kind of nice to have a Saturday off. I spent the day with my sister and the dogs, and we went to the Minnehaha Dog Park in Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, I think. I don't know. Somewhere in Minneapolis. And it was really nice. It's the first time that we got down there this summer, and it took us so long because if you live in the Midwest or in Minnesota, you know that there's been a lot of rain and there's been a lot of flooding. So we were hoping that the river would be kind of down to its normal levels, but surprisingly it was still really high down there in the dog park, so we didn't really get to walk along the river really, which was a little disappointing, but I'm glad that the dogs got some time out and just to enjoy the nice weather, because it's been also super humid in Minnesota, and today and yesterday and just this past week the weather's been super nice. It's been like in the high 60s and like low 70s, which is maybe I'm not realizing a little bit chilly. It's nice though. I like it. I don't want to be sweating all the time, you know? I know I always start my podcast by saying that I don't remember what I talked about in my last podcast episode, and it is a similar case because I don't, but this is a topic that I've been wanting to cover since I discovered the missing puzzle piece, not pieced, and yeah, I've just been sitting on it and for so long, but I think that I'm finally ready to sit down and record this and share this tea with you. And maybe it's not bubbling hot, but you know, it's still pretty warm. It's like I'm beating a dead horse, but in a couple podcasts ago, I had told you all that like, oh, I'm just gonna let it, you know, it's like water under the bridge, like I'm not gonna talk about it because it's not worth my time, but no, it is, and I'm gonna be a petty fucking bitch tonight and just give it all to you, and I want to hear your response to it, and I don't know how long this is gonna be, but man, I was done so dirty, and I've grown from this and I've learned from this, but man, did it piss me off. So let's get straight into the story. I'm just gonna be telling you this as though, you know, like you're my best friend, or you're just a friend, right? And you've never heard this before, right? Okay, so we're just going through the motions of it. So, before I entered my senior year of college, I was talking to this guy, and we're gonna call him Chad, because now when I look at him, I just think Chad. He doesn't deserve to be called by his actual name, and I probably shouldn't even call him by his actual name for my podcast anyways. So, Chad and I were talking. We had met on Hinge, and we were talking at kind of like the end of my junior year when I was still wrapping up like the last month and a half of classes. And it was great. It was good. And obviously I'm only 23 and I have a lot to learn about love and life and everything. I'm still discovering myself and who I am. My frontal lobe is probably not even fully developed yet. But we were talking and I felt myself kind of like falling for him, I would say, but prior to meeting him, I had gone through like a hoe phase, and obviously there's a podcast about that where I was just, you know, messing around with guys and flirting with them, and then I got tired of it, and then I like decentered men from my life and swore off of it. And then he was like at the time it felt like he was a breath of fresh air. Like things were taken really slowly, but I'm now realizing it's because like I don't think he fucking liked me, but like, you know, those situations, and all, I'm not even gonna say all the girlies, because, like, as humans, when something is not easily attainable, it makes you want it more and more and more. And I know I'm not the only one who's experienced that. And I think that's the situation that I was facing when I was talking to Chad. He was very quiet and kind of nonchalant, and there's just an energy about him that, like, made me want him. Like, I'm like, I want you to be mine. And at first it was kind of just like a little hookup thingy, and he would come over sometimes, and then, like, I am also, like, kind of a lover girl, so I would cook for us, and he would just come and hang out in my dorm and hang out on campus, and it was a good time. And then I happened to be working on campus that summer, and so was he at the neighboring college. He was working as a football assistant. So I was like, oh, this is, like, perfect, right? Like, you're in Northfield, I am in Northfield. We can hang out. And that's exactly what we did. The house I lived in that summer had no fucking AC. Let's start off there, okay? And I was sweating every single fucking night, and, like, putting, like, ice packs on my forehead and stomach because it was so hot. And there was like, I think that was, like, the first month that I was working and I was living in that house. It was dreadful. It was unbearable. I thought I was gonna die. I can't even believe that I paid for a month of living on that campus house. Okay, so anyways, we were talking throughout the summer, and, cooking together and going into town together to eat and walking around parks and stuff. And then it got to the point where I was like, and honestly, I shouldn't have pursued him after this, but it's like, he was leaving at the end of the year, right? Because he was going back to grad school. He lived on the East Coast, and so he didn't really, like, see our relationship going anywhere. But me being my lover girl self, I hate that I'm this way sometimes, I was like, well, like, I really like you, and even if we can only date until the end of the year, like, I would love to date you, like, I would love to be exclusive, right? And so timestamps for you guys, we had first met in May of 2022, and then we were talking from May 2022, like, through the summer, and then, like, May, June, July. In July, we started dating exclusively. And then we were dating for a little under a year, I think. But we'll get to that point, okay? So, point being, summer ends, we're still dating. My senior year starts, and I introduce him to some of my friends. Whenever he would get off work, we'd go out, we'd eat together, we'd make dinner together. He'd come sleep over some nights, or else I'd go over to his place. And then that happened through the end of the year, and my college ran on trimesters. And so when he was still living in our college town, I drove down and saw him during Christmas, and I would stay with him. And then I dropped him off at the airport when he left to go back home for a little bit during the Christmas break. And then I think that I also picked him up to drop him off back in our college town when he came back. And then right after Christmas is when I met his parents. So that was December of 2022. So I flew out to the East Coast to see him, and man, it was busy at the airport. I chose, like, the worst time. But, like, I bought them all Christmas presents, and I flew there with all of it in my suitcase, and his mom was so sweet. His mom bought me he's from New Jersey, okay, and maybe that was the first red flag. And his mom bought me a bracelet with a New Jersey pendant and a little heart that said, far apart, but, like, close in heart, I think. And I actually ended up losing one of those pendants. Well, not losing it, but it fell off the very last time that I met him. in New Jersey, and then I never visited him again. He never sent it to me, nothing like that. So, anyways, right, end of 2022, that's when I see him for the first time. January, he starts grad school. He went to grad school on the East Coast. I won't name his college, I won't name the state he went, but he was going back for, like, football coaching. And also, that's probably another red flag, is that he was heavily involved in football. I don't know. Maybe I have a type. I also don't know. So, anyways, he was back up there. January, February, March, we're, like, long distance, and, like, we're still talking, and we were kind of FaceTiming here and there, but, like, I tried to stay in touch as much as I could, and we had actually had a conversation back in November, and I asked him, I was like, like, so are we gonna break up when you go back to New Jersey, when you start school again? He said, well, I don't know, like, do you want to break up? And he said, well, what did he say? Something along the lines of, like, do you want to break up? I don't want to break up, but, like, if you do, I understand. And I was like, well, I don't want to break up, that's why I'm asking you. And so we had mutually agreed that, like, we didn't want to break up and we wanted to try the long distance, and so that's what we were doing. And so going into the beginning of 2023, I started my winter term, and we kept in touch, and then our spring break happened in March, late March, and I went to go see him again, and his birthday was in March, and so I actually had bought him birthday presents this time around, and I was gonna see his parents again, but this time it felt really different, because we just, like, I felt like he wasn't as affectionate with me, and we were not very intimate with each other, like, the way we had been, like, when we were physically together in our college town, and I thought that was a little off, and I was like, maybe it's just because he is, tired, he's studying, he's busy coaching, blah, 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 whatever, I'm not gonna push it. And I remember very vividly telling him on that trip in March, we were laying in his bed, and I said, I love you. And he's just kind of, like, ignoring me. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird too, but I'm not going to think anything of it, okay? Because I don't want to scare myself, and I don't want to break up, right? Like, I was that deep into this relationship that, like, I really felt like Chad was my one and only, like, the guy that I was going to be with for forever. And now that I think about it, and now that the feelings are gone, I can't quite, like, wrap my head around as to, like, what made me feel that way, because, like, I feel like I see him for who he really is and truly is now, that I'm like, I can't believe that I thought that of him, at one point. I really cherished all of our little moments together. He showed me to, like, the most beautiful locations in New Jersey, and it was amazing. I don't know, I loved spending time with him over there, and I enjoyed my time with his parents. His parents were very sweet, his parents were very kind, especially his mom. Felt like I got along really well with his mom, and I made egg rolls for them, and it was just great. I'm grateful for those times even now, with how I feel now, and I don't know. Yeah. I'm not, like, getting emotional, but, like, I'm just forgetting. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, that happened in March, but, like, I definitely felt like there was a bit of a disconnect. Like, now that I think, I just feel, like, a little disgusted too, because I'm like, God, and oh my gosh, okay. Also, on that trip, on my very last day there, I had a dream. So I had an evening flight, and I think it was the day of his birthday. I had a dream that he had cheated on me as well. This was when I visited him in March of 2023. And I woke up, and I just started crying, because I was like, why am I having this dream, And now I know that, my dreams never lie. My intuition never lies, because I had a similar dream with my last ex as well, that I had, I caught him cheating on me, and lo and behold, I find out all that tea. That's for a different day though. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking outside. But essentially, I had a dream that he was cheating on me with another girl, from I don't know where. I was still very unknowledgeable of why I was dreaming this. Please just, sorry. I woke up and I told him that I had a dream of him cheating on me, and he kind of just looked at me like, "Oh, you're always crying." And that was like red flag number what, right? And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, didn't try to comfort me at all or anything, and like just tried to go back to bed. And I was like, that's so weird. But now it makes sense to me that like the reason why he said that I was always crying and he didn't want to address it was because he was cheating on me. And we're gonna get to that part, okay? That's the juicy part. That's why I want to make this podcast. So I go back home. He's like, I miss you already. He dropped me off that night. I flew home. I was like, man, I really miss him. I really miss Chad. And so I go back home, I start my spring term, and April is like a little rocky for us. He had claimed that he was really stressed out about classes and about coaching, and he had been having back issues as well. And so I just tried to take it easy on him. I'm like, hey, listen, if you don't have time to FaceTime, if you don't have time to text, like, I understand, because I was in my senior year and I had the worst senior thesis group, and I was stressed. I was crying a lot. He was kind of like my safe haven at the end of the day. Like, he is who I looked forward to talk to. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but like I looked forward to talking to him every night, just hearing from him, because like it was comforting for me. But clearly he didn't feel the same, because I think that he had another girlie over there comforting him and fucking him, and that's probably why he didn't want to have sex with me, like, when I wanted to go see him in March. Anyways, yeah, it got really rocky, and he was like, I'm just stressed, and I feel like he was using that as an excuse, because April, extremely rough month for us. What the fuck am I saying? It was an extremely rough month for us, together as a couple and also on an individual level. And then May comes around and I'm like, hey, like, I'm just really not happy with like how we've been communicating. I'm not happy with like how much we've been communicating. He said, yeah, like, me neither. And this was kind of like at the beginning of May, like maybe after the first week of May. And I said, I hope that like if we don't talk as much every day because you're busy with finals and everything, I hope that we can at least say like good morning and good night, because like our communication had dwindled down a lot and it was stressing me out. And I was telling my friends about it and they kind of felt like everything was fine, but like everything was not fine, because then like mid-May, he just like ghosts me completely. Didn't respond to my messages, wasn't answering my calls, and he had ghosted me for like a full week. And I was just distraught. I was crying. I had an art fair that I had to prep for, and I would stay up, like, I was pulling all-nighters to prep for this art fair, to also get my parts of my group senior thesis done, and then also just like crying and just feeling really anxious. And like, I'm so grateful for my friends at that time who comforted me. They were there for me. I love my friends so much, and if you're listening to this, you know who you are. They came to my room, they were making sure I was eating, they were checking on me constantly, and I'm so grateful that at that time I had that support group, because I also lived in a single, so I was basically bedrotting in my single dorm room by myself, like around that time a lot. And it was just rough. I remember I was texting him every night, and like we had our red receipts on, so like I saw that he was seeing my messages, but like he just wouldn't respond, and that was really, really hard for me to deal with. So the day of the art fair comes around, and I had put on a happy face so I could sell all of my crafts, like my press-on nails and like my jewelry, and I was selling things for my mom and my sister-in-law there too, and then sending them the money. And when my friends came along to my booth, I was like basically telling them like, oh yeah, like I think that like Chad broke up with me, like I think that I'm single, and they were just like, Maggie, like I'm so sorry, and comforting me. And again, I'm very, very grateful for my friends. I couldn't have asked for better people to be in my life in college, like in general, but also as I was going through this really tough time in like my college life, I guess. And yeah, so our fair wraps up. I think it was only like 4 hours, I'm pretty sure, which is like a long time, but I don't know, a long time to think about that. And so I essentially like brought all my shit back up to my dorm room, and I texted him and I said, okay, like, well, is this it, and I left him a voice message that morning at like 5 in the morning, basically just saying like, because he was supposed to come and see me graduate. Excuse me, oh my god, I feel like I think I just burped into the microphone, and I'm not gonna cut it out. But he was supposed to come and see me graduate in June, and I had an Airbnb booked and everything, and then he's like fucking ghosting me, right? So I essentially like message him like, is this really it? Like, is this how you want things to end? Like, if this is truly how things are ending, like, I can only say that I wish it wasn't happening this way, but if this is the decision that you're making, then like I understand, and like thank you for the good times, and thank you for showing me around New Jersey and showing me the view of New York, and basically just like sharing with him what I was grateful for. And then I was like, I think I need to go on a hot girl walk because it's just been a lot of emotions and I need to decompress. And before I went on my walk, I wrote his mom a letter, and in the letter I had essentially put back like all of the photos of him that like she had given to me, and because like I didn't at the time, like my heart was like broken and I didn't have the heart to rip those up or like burn them or throw them away. And so I mailed them back, and I told her, hey, this is what's going on. I don't know if Chad has said anything to you, but thanking his mom too. And I was like, I'm sorry if he hasn't said anything to you, then I just want to say like I want to mail these things back because I don't want to throw them away. And so I threw that in a mailbox on my walk prior to leaving campus to walk in the park. And then my friend Nectary called me and she said, hey, like, you're doing okay. And I had turned on my data to FaceTime her, and then as we were FaceTiming, he had sent me a message basically saying like, I'm so sorry, I can't do the distance. Yeah. So I cried on my walk because I was like, why? Like, why are you waiting until like I'm like, okay, like, this is what you want, right? Thanks. Why would you wait until that point to, like, message me after? And I think it was such a fucking asshole move because I'm like, you fucking saw my messages that I was sending to you for a whole fucking week, and then you didn't say shit to me, right? So you were just trying to, like, Irish exit out of my life as if we hadn't had, like, a 9 or 10 month long relationship with each other, and, like, that it's almost like this relationship didn't mean anything to you. And so when that happened, I was so emotional, and I don't know how much of like the messaging back and forth I really want to get into, but like we were essentially just like going back and forth for a couple of weeks, like still kind of talking occasionally, and then like I was still so much like in love with him, and like telling him that and being like, I miss you and thank you and all these things. And it was just a really heartbreaking time in my life. And it's something that I took so long to get over. It was nothing like my first relationship where I found out what he did, I cut him out of my life, and then that was that. Like, I was man-eater Maggie, living my best life. This was so different. I sat in my sadness for basically a whole year. That's how long it took, and I felt like the only thing I can think of it is in Hmong, like which basically just translates to like I was moving around life, like I was right, I'm still alive, but I felt dead, like I was a zombie, and like there was nothing to live for. And I truly felt that way. I had to start, so I had to accept the fact that my parents weren't going to meet him and that he wasn't going to be there to watch me walk and see me graduate. And it was a lot of crying on my part. And then I had to jump right into an internship. I had to jump into an internship prior to my senior week starting and prior to graduation. And so I felt like that kind of kept my mind off of it, but the only thing that I could think about most days was him. And every day of my internship, I felt like I was just trying to keep myself busy, and maybe that was in everything I did, it felt like I was drowning and I was just trying my best to keep my head above water. That's how it felt. And there were nights when I would stay up too late and I would just think about it too long, or I would read through our messages and I would just cry, and I would cry myself to sleep, or I would just stay up crying and then like be like, God, like, why did this happen to me? It was really sad, guys. I was so fucking depressed. So I was desperate, there were periods of time when like we weren't talking together, but I felt like I was like begging for him, and like I was holding on to like a thread of hope. And I also think that it's because like the way he would word things, and it's also because of my own delusional mind too, but like the way he would word things, it always felt like we were gonna come together again, like telling me that like he hoped that he could make it up to me, and that he's sorry because he knows that the way he ended things it was selfish and how he shouldn't have. And I remember one day I told him, I'm really scared that I'm never gonna see you again. And he said, I hope we do. And that made me feel like, oh, maybe he is just going through a rough patch, and like we are going to get through this, and like I'm gonna see him. Because to be totally honest with you guys, I was ready to uproot my life in Minnesota, and I was ready to move over there to the East Coast to him and find work there while he finished up his master's, because that's how like committed I was to him, like I really thought that we were gonna be like endgame. And obviously we were not, and that's why I'm like, I have a lot of learning and growing to do. But when you're like a young adult and you're in love with somebody, like you kind of have tunnel vision, and you're not on the outside looking in. Like everything that you're building with this person, you just think like, oh my God, like this is perfect, like I can't see myself loving anyone else but him, right? And so going back, right, so I told you guys that I had mailed his mother a letter and all the photos back, and she wrote me back a letter saying like, Maggie, I'm so sorry, like when Chad came back home, like I asked him how you were doing, and he basically just told me he was fine, or you were fine, but he didn't tell me that like he had broken up with you. And so to be like totally honest, I don't know who listens to my podcast, but I was in contact with his mom for basically the whole time that we had been broken up until like I found out what I had found out a year later. I had sent her gifts for her birthday, and judge me if you want to, right? But she had ended up like mailing me a Christmas gift as well, and I thought that was so kind of her. His mom and I had a really, really good, like what I felt was a good bond, but like looking back on it now, I don't it wasn't healthy. It's not that I think, but I know that it wasn't healthy, and it's something I overstepped a boundary. I will say that. But the gift that she sent me was so thoughtful and so nice, and I mean, I still have some things from that gift that I'm not going to throw away, but it was so kind of her. And we were texting, and she had told me a couple of things about him, and it just like kind of put the story together for me as to like why, not why we had broken up, because I think we had broken up for reasons of his own, but essentially like it gave me backstory of like what was happening in his life. And that's where I'm like, I was overstepping my boundaries for sure, because there was no reason for me to know what was happening in his life, especially if we were broken up. Essentially, his mom had told me that he'd ended up throwing out his back during coaching, and like he got 3 herniated discs from it and had gone home because he was pulled from his football program. So he was no longer doing his master's program. And when I had first heard about it, I cried because I was like, oh my goodness, like I feel so bad for him. I feel so sorry for him. I wish I could just be there for him. And for my birthday, I had actually spent a weekend in New York, and that opened up a whole, like, it opened up the wound again for me, because it was the first time since we had broken up that I was flying back to the East Coast. And it probably didn't help that I had flown back to the same airport that he'd picked me up from both times I had gone and visited him, because all I could think about again was him. So I cried a little bit on my birthday trip to New York, and like I messaged him, and like I realized now at that time, like he wasn't even at school, he was home because of his back. And I had asked him, you know, do you ever think that we're going to get back together? And he kind of like he gave me a question to my question. Oh, I don't know, do you think we'll ever get back together? And and you know, there I go again, pouring my heart out to him, even though he didn't give like, I don't think he would have fucking cared if I lived or died at this point in my life. And I was like, you know, like I really, in my heart, I really hope that we do, and I really hope that like we figure our lives out and our careers out, and that we come back together, because you truly felt like you were like, we had, to me it felt like we had a soul connection. I felt so at ease with you. I felt so myself with you. Like I could just, like I felt calm. And then like I sent him that for him to like, what, leave me on red again and ghost me? Okay. And then like it didn't help that like the job that I had, like the first official job after my internship that I had, there was a guy at work that like reminded me of him too. And so there I go, going at work, still heartbroken and still talking about my ex, and like it was just a really pathetic time in my life, a really pathetic year for me, where I couldn't get this fucking Pisces man off my fucking mind. And it was I needed someone to sedate me, because I'm like, somebody put me in a fucking psych ward, because why can't I get this man off my mind? Okay, what happened next? I don't know what happened next, because the whole year that I was pathetic, I was just like essentially like trying to do as much self-help as I could, but also like going back to him and messaging him, even though I knew that like, you know, I knew he didn't give a fuck about me, and like he did not care about me, and it was always just me like basically begging for his attention. And like it makes me hurt for myself, because I'm like, Maggie, get the fuck up off your knees and stop. You need to stop acting like this for Pisces men. Stop. Okay, now I feel very strongly towards Pisces men, because I find that I tend to attract them, and I tend to be attracted to them without really knowing, and I don't know what it is. And if any of you are astrologers, maybe you can answer that for me, because I get these Pisces men the fuck away from me, seriously, because I can't do another heartbreak. The universe is truly testing me, and I don't think I can do it anymore. And so fast forward to March of 2024, so just this past March, I had taken it upon myself to send him a birthday box. And I just sent him a couple of snacks, and I sent him a jelly cat. And if you know jelly cat plushies, you know those things are not cheap, okay? So I sent him those for his birthday, or before his birthday, because I wanted them to get to him prior to his birthday. And when he received them, he texted me, and he said to me something along the lines of like, "Thank you so much for your gifts. I really appreciate them. You're the sweetest and kindest person that I know, and I wish that I could hug you." Right? And I remember telling his mom, like, earlier on, that I was like, I think that, like, if Chad and I don't get back together, I don't think that I'll ever date anyone ever again. And I don't think that, like, I'm just gonna be single for the rest of my life and, like, focus on my career. And she was like, don't say that, you know, like, you'll find love again and blah, 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 all that. So there was that. Like, I sent him this gift, and I was like, wow, like, I wonder if he's, like, dating anyone new, and I hope that he's not. And this is where it gets really juicy, okay? Because I sent him this gift. He received it maybe a week before his birthday. And then, no, everything's fine. Like, I think I texted him, like, one last time. Like, the last text I ever fucking sent him. And we're only in August, so, you know, it hasn't been that long. But the last thing I ever texted him was, you know, I miss getting bubble tea with you. Because there was this place in New Jersey that we went to together both times I had visited bubble tea, and I kind of saw it as like, oh, like, this is our place, like, oh, I love getting, like, bubble tea with you, blah, 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 like, this is our special place, and this is where I always want to go whenever I visit you. I'm sure he's already taken his new girlfriend there already, right, and just, like, erased every memory of me that he has, and, like, I also hope that he's erased all the fucking gifts that I given him, because why keep them, right, if, like, your ex-girlfriend that you don't fucking care about because you treated me like shit gave them to you, right? Because it's just a reminder of me, right? So just throw them away. I hope he threw them away. Anyways, yeah, I'm getting a little pissed off, because why the fuck would you do me dirty like that? Because I like you. Anyways, March, April, May, we're following each other on Instagram still at this point, right? One day, I'm at home, and I do my little morning workout, and then I do my makeup, and I'm feeling good, and I wasn't checking my phone a lot, because I was, like, listening to, like, a YouTube video. My friend Nectary texts me and said, "Hey girl, how are you doing? How are you feeling?" And I said, "Oh, that's weird, like, I'm doing good, sorry," like, and I thought she was only saying that because I was like, you know, sometimes you'll text your friends and then, like, you forget to respond to them, but, like, it's fine, right? Because, like, you just pick up where you left off. But I was like, oh, maybe she's just, like, texting me because, I forgot to text her follow up last night. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good, right? So I'm like, that's weird, why is she saying that? I hop on Instagram, and then, like, I see that, like, he had made a story post, and, like, mind you, during our relationship, he had never posted me. He never wanted to take photos with me. He, I don't know, like, I just wasn't special to him. And I saw that he had made a story post, and I was almost scared to look. When I tell you that I felt like my soul left my body when I opened his story, it was a birthday post for his girlfriend. And all I could do was cry, and I was so angry. I said, oh my fucking god, Nectary, is that why you're asking me how I'm doing? is that why? Because of his story post? And she said, yeah, I'm so sorry, like, I thought you already saw it. And I said, yeah, no, I saw it. And so basically what I did was I made all my friends unfollow him. And I blocked him because I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe that's what I needed to see to wake up completely and be like, yeah, get up off your knees and stop being a pathetic little bitch and being sad over this guy who doesn't care about you. And you can call me crazy and delusional, but I went snooping. I did my little investigation, and this is how I believe that what I know is the truth, is my truth. This was my missing puzzle piece that just made the whole story make sense to me in my brain, is that, oh my god, the reason that we broke up a year ago was because you started talking to this girl that was going to the same school as you while you were doing your program. And you were talking to her on the side, which is why you didn't want to come to my college graduation, which is why you didn't want to be intimate with me when I visited you the last time, which is why you were not interested in telling me you loved me. You were not interested in doing anything out in New Jersey with me, because you were already talking to this girl. I bet you guys that he was talking to her, like, as soon as he went back at the beginning of 2023, like in January, that he was already talking to this girl. And the reason why I believe that is because, like, okay, I'm gonna sound really fucking crazy right now, but I went snooping, okay? I went snooping on his dad's Facebook. And it got to this point, right? But, if it's public, it's open for everyone to see. When I had gone on his dad's Facebook, his dad had posted a photo of him and his girlfriend, okay, early March. And this was prior to him receiving my birthday gift and telling me I'm the sweetest and kindest person he knows and he wishes that he could hug me. He had made a National Sons post and was like, oh yeah, like, by the way, like, this is Chad's girlfriend. And I said, and she was at their house. And I was just like, there's no way that his mom didn't know about this then. And there's no way that they had been dating for such little time and they had photos, okay? The photos that he had posted of her on his Instagram, he had taken her to the same, like, overlook or whatever at the beach that he had taken me. And he didn't want to take photos with me there. He didn't pull out his phone. He didn't, he just wasn't interested in, like, taking any fucking photos with me or posting any photos with me. But with her, it just makes me angry now. Okay, they were kissing in their photos, they were hugging their I'm just like, oh my god, I get it. Like, you just didn't fucking like me and I didn't see it. I see it now. My eyes are open, okay? And, oh god, I felt so disgusted with myself and with him and, like, his family, because I was like, do you guys get what I mean? Do you get what I mean? There's no way, right? And, okay, I will say this, too, is that when I was with him, like, we were together long enough that, like, his parents could have, like, posted me had they wanted to. They never posted me once, ever. Ever, ever, ever. But with this girl, they had to have been dating for a long time, like, beginning of the year. And he had introduced her to them, and she's gone to their house and everything. And then his dad, like, so proudly, like, posts them together. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't think your parents liked me. Like, it dawned on me. And I was like, so that was my missing puzzle piece, was that I was like, guys, I'm, like, positive that he was cheating on me. And, like, that's why we broke up the way that we broke up. Because, again, like, let me remind you, like, we were not intimate with each other. He was not interested. He did not instigate. We were barely affectionate with each other. He didn't say he loved me. And then, like, what? 2 months, like, a month and a half before we break up, like, oh, our relationship is super rocky, and, like, suddenly he can't do the distance. Yeah, it's because you have, like, a whole nother girlfriend back on the East Coast that, like, you're keeping a secret from me. I don't know if it was guilt or if he truly just didn't care, but I'm like, at least give me the decency of, like, a proper breakup, right? Don't just try to exit out of my life, like, ghost me, and then leave me confused. But I guess he got his karma. Like, you got pulled out of your program, and I got a degree from my number one college, and I'm doing well in life now. I'm happy with my job, I'm happy with my friends, I'm happy with my life, I'm content. And what do you got? I won't say it, but I just know you're not living your dream. And I remember he told me his biggest fear was not being successful. So have fucking fun being unsuccessful, because you'll never, ever, ever do me dirty and get away with it. Truly, anybody in my life who's crossed me, your karma has gotten you, because I will never go out of my way to make someone's life miserable. You're always going to make it miserable on your own, and I stand by that. And I have proof of that. Okay? Chad being example number 1. So yeah. I'm so pissed, and call me a fucking hater, and tell me I'm not a girl's girl, but his girlfriend is so fucking ugly that I don't even want to be associated. I don't even want to be associated with him. I don't even want people, like, I don't even want to acknowledge, we never dated. I don't know him. And he's just gone so, like, when I had seen him again for the first time in that photo, or just after I had woken up from my delusions, I was just like, wow, you're, like, actually really ugly, and I can't believe that I dated you as long as I thought, or as I did, and I can't believe that I thought that you were this sweet, kind person, understanding person. No. You're just a fucking asshole, and I hope that you suffer for the rest of your life, and I hope that you're crippled for the rest of your life, because I was, like, literally nothing but good to you, and I was willing to go, like, to the ends of the earth for you, and you treat me like this? You got everything that you deserved. Everything bad that was coming your way, you deserve it. I hope that you're never happy, Chad. Ever. And I hope you fucking burn in hell. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. This is kind of a long one, but if you listened through and you enjoyed this little story time podcast, please let me know and I'll give you another one. And I'm sorry that I've been away for so long, and it always takes me so long to record my podcast. There's a lot going on in my life right now. I'm trying to secure a full-time job with my current department. I'm crossing my fingers. Please cross your fingers for me that I hear back from my supervisor on Monday. And if I don't, I'm not gonna fret over it, because I really, really enjoy my job. And with my living situation right now, the hours that I am getting are honestly not an issue. So, yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. There's some other things going on that, like, I don't want to update you guys on yet. I'm gonna kind of let it play out. So that's that. And I will see you all in my next podcast. Bye!